Hello, our very last video for 7-8. Yay, we're at the end. Okay, we're gonna change it up. This last video changes it up a little bit, and that we're gonna be dealing with equations. It's gonna be an equation, hence it's gonna have an equal sign, and we're gonna be asked to solve. Before this, all of the other stuff we've been doing in 7-8 is mainly just learning methods for factoring. Now we're going to look at the purpose of factoring. Solving equations is really the purpose for factoring. We factor so we can use the zero product property to solve. That is why we factor, because we need factors to be able to use the zero product multiplication property, okay, to solve polynomials, meaning equations that are bigger than just an x, meaning if you have x squareds, x to the thirds, ... you need to be able to factor them so you can solve them. Okay, so first step, whenever you're solving anything that involves something other than a straight up x. So first we look, this has got an x squared, x to the third, and an x squared. So step one, first, set equal to 0. Meaning I'm gonna have to move everything from one side to the other. So the easiest way I think would be to move this 10x. So I'm gonna subtract 10x from both sides. So my equation ends up being 2x to the third plus 8x squared minus 10x equals 0. Step 2, I'm going to put it in big, bold, factor it. Okay, the reason I'm doing big and bold is a very common mistake here, and what you guys, many of you have been doing repeatedly, is you'll set this equal to 0 and this equal to 0 and this equal to 0. These are not factors. They are addends. I need to factor it, get it as a multiplication, hence this whole entire chapter on how to factor. So this is where this process comes in handy. I need to factor it. So I factor out any common factors. They all are divisible by 2, and they all have an x, because here we've got 3 terms, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to take a 2 and an x out of all of them. So we have a 2x out. So 2x, I'm going to need an x squared to multiply that in. I'm going to need a 4 and 1x and a minus 5. Again, still equals 0. Continue that equals 0 along. So now let's double check. 2x times x to the second. Yep, got me that. 2x times 4x. Yep, gets me that. And 2x times negative 5. Yep, gets me that. So we're good so far. All right, so I have it factored. I've got one factor out front here. Now we need to look to see, well, does this factor any farther? So how many terms does it have? It had 3. It had 3 terms. There's my 3 terms. 1, 2, 3. Leading coefficient 1. I'm going to guess and check that guy. So we're going to guess and check it. X and x. What multiplies to give me negative 5 adds to give me that 4. So we've got negative 1 and 5. Well, there it is. It's 4. We found it. Negative 1 plus 5. Don't forget, I've got this factor out here. Equals 0. So here I technically have 3 factors. 1, 2, 3. They are now all products. So let's label each factor. There's a factor times this one times this one. So now that I have factors, third step, use the zero product property. Okay, the zero product property tells me that if I have a multiplication of things, and I multiply to get 0, one of them has to be 0. So I'm going to set equal to 0. 2x equals 0, or x minus 1 equals 0. Remember, this is the symbol for or x plus 5 equals 0. I need to see this step. You need to show this out. It's got 3 factors. I set each one equal to 0. Now I come in and I solve each one of these. I deal with this little guy. I'll have to divide it by 2 to solve it. X equals 0 divided by 2 is 0. Got one of the solutions. Now I try this one. I'm going to have to add 1 to both sides to solve it. X equals 1. Move over to here. Subtract 5. X equals negative 5. So my solutions, the solutions that we normally do them least to greatest, negative 5, then 0, then 1. This equation has 3 solutions. And I can check it. And what's nice to check it is check it back in the original. What I mean by that is the first solution was -5. So I open up my calculator and I'm looking at this original equation here. I'm looking at this original equation right there, and I'm going to plug in a -5 for all those x's. So I'm going to take 2 times -5 to the third. Notice my parentheses, plus 8 times -5 to the second, and I get -50. Well, is that the same as 10 times -5? Yep. So my -5 worked. Now let's come in, and instead of making it -5, 0 was also a solution. Yep, that got me 0, and when I plug it over here, I will also get 0, so that one worked. My other solution was, what, 1? So let's try a 1. When I put a 1 in for my x, there I get 10. When I put a 1 in for this x, I also get 10. So those three made this equation, because we're looking for what makes this equation true. There's 3 numbers that will make it true. A -5, a 0, and a 1. We found it. Now your turn. Oh, we forgot 4th step. Sorry. We just did it. I didn't write it. 4th step, check them. Check your solutions back in the original equation. And by original, I mean flat up original before you've done anything to it. That was this one right here. Before we subtracted the 10 over, because what if you made a mistake at that point and you wouldn't catch it? So check your solutions. So check these, make sure they work. There's our solutions right there. All right, your practice is on page 407. 24 through 34 even, and 37 through 40.